Now, across Texas, the issue is...
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin.
And I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas. And this is Texas, the issue is.
You can't talk about the 2024 election without talking about the border. And you can't consider the border without considering the Mexican cartels. And on Capitol Hill, no one studies these insidious drug and human trafficking operations more closely than Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw. This week, we talked cartel, Israel, and the nation's impending choice for president.
First Amendment.
A year has passed since Houston area Congressman and former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw took the helm of a special House task force aimed at countering immensely powerful and increasingly lethal Mexican drug cartels. Crenshaw's conclusion?
They need to know that they've pissed us off. They need to know that it's in their best interest to change their business model. They're still going to sell a bunch of other drugs, but let's be honest, those other drugs aren't killing us. Fentanyl is.
Crenshaw's message to Mexico's president-elect Claudia Sheinbaum: close military collaboration with the U.S. is the pragmatic path forward for both countries.
The obviously preferred option is right alongside the Mexican military. We already train with them. We already do it. So they just need more help. They need more assets. They need more close air support, better weapons, better intelligence, all of it.
Congressman Crenshaw also offered powerful perspective on Israel's war with Hamas and rebutted those who insist the Jewish state's counterattack has been heavy-handed in terms of collateral civilian damage.
Let's say Galveston was packed with a bunch of terrorists and started lobbing missiles and bombs at Houston, and then did an attack and killed, over 1,000 and raped and burned babies and kidnapped over 1,000 Houstonians. What would we do? A lot is the answer. There would be a lot done. We would make sure that every single person responsible or even related to the people responsible were rooted out. And that's what Israel is going to do.
Dan, there are a lot of Texans, a lot of Americans who aren't happy with the two choices that they'll have in November. You've decided who you're going to support. Can you make the case why that's the best path?
I want somebody who's going to put the policies in that are good, and that is Trump. On the energy front, he wants American energy dominance. I want American energy dominance. He's better on the border. The vast majority of people in this country want the border secure. He's gonna do everything within his power to do that. We already know that from experience, and so I think we can trust his word on it. The list goes on and on and on. He's going to be better for business, better for taxes, better for all of it. So if you care about your children's future, not saying nothing of like if they like the guy that they're watching on TV, but the actual circumstances that they will live and work in, they need to vote for Trump. It's just going to be better. That's it.
Okay, my one-word description is conundrum. Stephen, what's your word?
I got to break the rules and do 2 words, so I'm going to just say holding breath.
All right, Rudy, lay it on me.
Well, I'll split the difference and I'll go with perplexing.
Okay, a great deal to discuss here, so stick around. The Fox Texas Trio will be back on the other side of this break. Welcome back. Congressman and former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw says the only way to curtail the flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is to deliver a bloody nose to the cartels via collaborative military strikes in full partnership with Mexico. Something he says is more likely to happen with Donald Trump in the White House and a new president leading our neighbor to the south. Rudy, do you think this will ever happen, or has the cartel's political and economic influence in Mexico already become just too pervasive?
Yeah, they're entrenched. That could have been another word that we could have used for this segment, right? But the cartels, they're like the herpes virus. Once you get it, you just can't get rid of it. The only action is to manage it. It's easy to believe that we could just deploy an army of Chuck Norris commandos or launch a lot of Tomahawk missiles into the cartels, but Tom Clancy, he already gave us a look at how that could go wrong in his book, Clear and Present Danger. Total eradication, doubtful. Look at what Israel's dealing with right now with Hezbollah and Hamas terrorists. And you also have to see all the protests in the streets and colleges by what they're doing. So don't get me wrong, I'm not for appeasement and I'm not for doing nothing. You got to do something. I'm just saying that there has to be a real plan with what happens after the bombs drop, after the shots are fired, something that goes beyond political rhetoric and pandering, things that we've heard for the past few decades. Right, Greg?
Yeah, Rudy, that was a great analogy. Stephen, in terms of the choice before Americans for president, Crenshaw has pushed all the prosecutions and the two-way mudslinging aside and based his support on relative policy positions and a belief that Trump can deliver more prosperity and security than Biden. So my question is this: do you think a significant number of voters will toss out all the character issues and simply vote their best interest?
I think so. And I have to say, it sounded like Congressman Crenshaw was holding his breath during part of that interview. I mean, he kind of sounds subdued, and usually you don't really hear people sound subdued when they're trying to tell you to vote for their candidate of choice. But I think that is the current situation that we're in, right? Where, the personalities are being thrown out, because if this was a personality contest, Donald Trump even won president when he did. And now in his reelection bid, he's being the same person, being a little bit more extreme on some topics. But yeah, it's not going to come down to personality. It's not going to come down to, can I have a beer with this person? It's going to come down to, what can that person do for me? It's not the charismatic Barack Obama that we're talking about. We're talking about two older candidates and a real time where in America we're very polarizing.
All right, Rudy, Crenshaw contends the character flaw factor, at least in his mind, is pretty much a wash between Trump and Biden. Could it be that this election comes down to Americans choosing the candidate who makes them feel secure, both economically and against outside threats?
Yeah, Greg, I think Stephen's right. I think people are going to be holding their breath, holding their nose as they go into the polling places to cast a ballot in November. It's going to be really perplexing with all this. Conventional wisdom saying, it looks like we just don't know. Take a look at the Fox News poll that just came out. President Biden is up 2 points on Donald Trump. Perplexing, right? Which is my word. The list of narratives for the Biden administration just goes on and on. Biden's popularity numbers are in the realm of Jimmy Carter and Richard Nixon. His administration border policy continues to be a disaster. He's launched a direct attack on women's sports. He's kneecapped the oil and gas industry, helping Russia. He's allowed Iran to have access to $10 billion. He's undercut support to Israel. He ignores or bypasses Supreme Court rulings. He, does things through executive order. The GOP should be running away with this race, but instead they're hitching their wagons to a candidate who's the personification of a mafia concrete overcoat, just sinking straight down. I'm reminded by the old Saturday Night Live comedy routine where an actor portraying Mike Dukakis, there's a name for the past, looks at a clueless George Bush and says, I can't believe I'm losing to this guy. If the upcoming presidential debate is a train wreck for Trump, which I think could happen, the stage will be set for some very high anxiety political drama at the GOP convention next month. Greg?
Rudy, you're in fuego. Stephen, what do you make of Crenshaw's...
He's heating up.
Stephen, what do you make of Crenshaw's proactive hypothetical regarding Israel and Gaza, comparing the threat proximity to Houston and Galveston, and a suggestion that given the same set of circumstances, most Texans would respond with a level of ferocity matching the IDF?
I understand what he's trying to do there, but I still think it's two totally different situations. The distance thing, yeah, I get that part. But we're also talking about the Jewish faith and Muslim faith, and it's a lot of other things going on in that back and forth. Now, the issue with the cartel and Mexico, it's valid, but I just think that hypothetical is a little bit not the same.
All right, Rudy, what do you think? What's your take? I mean, it's almost like San Marcos and Austin and terrorists in San Marcos. Would we act with more ferocity or equal to the Israelis?
Greg, I think he's spot on. The problem is with follow through, though. It's like dealing with the Nazi-like propaganda that's going on. How do you deal with this? But, remember, all military action ends with a couple of things. Hamas no longer in control of Gaza, all the hostages are released, and the terror groups are no longer firing missiles into Israel. Pretty simple.
All right, that's all the time we have. To see this episode, go to our Fox Station's YouTube pages.
and keep the conversation going by interacting with us on social media.
Join us next week as we tackle another hot Texas political topic. And remember, let us know what you think the issue is.